When you learn something from a particular teacher, out of respect for the teacher or for other reasons, your mind forms a particular methodology around that teaching. When one person teaches one way, another person teaches another way, you can't call one correct and one incorrect. They're both correct. Because the image that is formed in your mind works for you. Same is true of religions. If you believe in Jesus, or you believe in Muhammad, or you believe in Krishna, particularly if that has been given to you from childhood, you have formed some image about all that. You are working with that image in your brain. So nothing is wrong. Somebody might logically prove that one way is better than the other. But even that, I would not say that that makes another way wrong. What is wrong is known by humanity in general. No religion says you are free to kill someone. So that's a universal. You can't invent another religion which says, in my religion, this is permitted. Same happens with the study of chakra. There are no physical chakras in the body. It's a model given to deal with various types of attachments that I have as a human being. It's a good model. If you come across another model that you like, work with that, nothing wrong. You're basically working with your own challenges and problems. That's where the focus has to be. So if somebody draws the chakras one way, another person draws another way, it's okay. If that's what appeals to you, work with that. There was a little boy in a classroom. An inspector comes to basically check how the teacher is working. But to check the teacher's work, he tells this boy, says, suppose you have 5 apples and I take 2 apples away. How many apples would you have left? The boy says, our teacher taught us with mangoes, not apples. So that's what happens to fanatics. Don't be a fanatic. Have fun. The word is not fun attics. It's fanatics. Don't be a fanatic. Don't disrespect somebody else's method. Every method, if it works for you, is a good method. The question is, does it work for you? Or are you confused between apples and mangoes? Even within our Indian system, let's say you're making a paste to put on your forehead. Somebody takes a stone, puts this particular rub on it, and starts making a paste, pushing the pedal this way. So the person who is teaching him hits it, says, you idiot, this way is for Shankara. This is the way I want you to do it. Circular motion. That's a fanatic. You're making a paste. It doesn't matter which way you do it. Both ways are correct. So when you study the chakra, the important part that you pay attention to is how each chakra relates to your attachment to life. That's what you want to look at. Whether the chakra figure is drawn one way or the other, it doesn't really matter. Whichever appeals to you is fine. personally, for me, being an engineer, what appeals to me is a cyclic movement, like a helix. From chakra to chakra, it climbs this way. So when Ida and Pingala, Ida is on the left side, Pingala on the right side, as it does that helix, on the next chakra, it is on the opposite sides. And then it reverses again on the chakra. That's my image. I like that image. But I'm not stuck to the image. I'm more concerned about what each chakra represents psychologically, spiritually. So work with whatever image you have, it's fine, nothing wrong, don't feel guilty about it. If you want to understand some of the logic I'm using, you will have to use my method. Otherwise, at some point, it won't make sense to you. You divide the chakras up into various kind of things, phenomena that seem to interfere with your understanding of who you are, what God is. So each chakra relates to it in a different way. Go with that model. So when you say Manipura chakra doesn't work with something, what does it not work with? It's your physical body that you are relating. Nothing wrong. Work with that. Time will come when it will make deeper sense psychologically too. Because once you deal with whatever is physically interfering, then underlying stuff will come up. Psychological and later even spiritual. Even with each chakra, there are different levels. Like Muladhara chakra that I have been emphasizing last several classes, is to do with my attachment to physical objects I have, my material wealth. Initially, at a beginning level, a very simple way to look at it is, as much as I want material wealth, I have to begin to see very quickly that more wealth doesn't necessarily make me happy. In fact, beyond a certain degree, it can cause problems. Because then you are concerned with losing that wealth, losing that material possession. When a beggar is begging in the street, when a beggar goes to sleep, he has a dream. In his dream, he becomes a king. When a king goes to sleep, in his dream, he is concerned about losing his empire. Is that loss or gain basically understood? That more loss doesn't really mean anything at a spiritual level, at the level of wanting to understand your relationship with yourself and in effect with God. So that's a very initial level of working with your possessions. Later, there comes a recognition that whatever you possess is not really owned by you. It's somehow, by circumstances, gifted to you. You are in charge of handling that material wealth properly. So the next level would be share your wealth in a legitimate way, in a correct way, according to your understanding. Share it. But then comes a still deeper level of you have a pride about sharing. I am a good person, I'm sharing my wealth. That means the first step was not understood. is not yours to begin with. Where does this pride come from? What should come as a result of sharing is joy. I'm glad I have the privilege to share what I have. And in my view, of all the things you can share with people around you, the best thing to share is food. And obviously, share it not with somebody who has got all kinds of foods to eat. Share it with people who don't have food. And if that kind of sharing makes you feel good, nothing wrong with it. That's fine. Pride must not come. If pride comes, then you don't understand the previous step. So each chakra like that has got superficial level of working with your attachments. Then there are deeper layers still. But to begin with, what I was proposing was to take the energy of your prana, your breath, or through the breath, the pranic energy, to various parts of the chakra. It has much deeper implication that when you do this regularly as a devotional practice, then other layers will open up. And even for people who say, no, nothing opens up for me, that means your behavior is generally okay. You don't need to open up anything. Now, whatever sense is working like that, is that sense receptive? And if it is receptive, how is it affecting the brain? As I attempt to do all these various things I have described, my brain is doing something. In fact, without the brain, none of this can happen. I want to watch how that brain functions. If I know physically, I know which particular part of the brain controls the leg and so on. That's interesting, not necessary. Not necessary because I'm not wanting to look at a physiological, anatomical fact. I'm looking at a feeling. So while the outer knowledge can be helpful, it can also be detrimental. That practice, when done, then you begin to look at the psychological aspect of every chakra, which takes the practice substantially deeper to see how each chakra and whatever psychological part is associated with it is interfering. What do the psychological things create in your mind? Very important, essential to understand. All of them create an image about who you are. And while that image may appear to be real, it is never really that real. In the inner world, who am I needs to be looked at very, very, very carefully. You have to teach yourself how to go through each level of what I talked about. There is a geometrical alignment, what I call physical yoga. There is a physiological yoga, how my muscles work here, how the weight is transmitted more and more to the legs, little more to the arms. To take it to the second level called physiological yoga. Then seated in this posture for a longer time to see what is the organic effect. How does this posture affect many parts of the organs in my body, but particularly still the digestive system? If somebody is sitting with the knees higher up, their thought, their feeling is that there is tightness in the leg. Not incorrect, correct feeling. But it will take some time for this person to figure out how it is having very different effect on my digestive system. Then organic system or digestive system is part of the organic system. Then pranic system. As I sit like this, what other parts of the body that are receiving this life force, how are they affected? How are they different? And if you come to a stable position of all of that, then it is important to look at the sensory level, which when correctly introjected, not projected, that leads to meditative level. And slowly in meditation, the outside world will disappear. Then comes the ability to see or perceive what you are a little better. A culmination of that kind of looking is what Shankara describes as neti, neti, not this, not this. Whatever your mind concludes you are not that. Keep looking deeper and deeper and deeper. And one of the best ways for the mind to do this is to make it a regular practice that you do, preferably at the same time, in the same spot, if you can. Now, I have heard some people more recently saying that people who do Hatha Yoga practice are just doing some gymnastics. Yeah, if you approach it with that attitude of doing gymnastics, then you are doing gymnastics. But yoga students I know don't do that. You are trying to look at something much deeper. At the same time, you are benefiting the body by the way you hold your pose. Person who described Hatha Yoga practice as just gymnastics, I saw that person sitting in a most uncomfortable way. I didn't have the heart to tell him that try doing some yoga, you will sit better. When you sit improperly, the other aspects of your energy that help you to think correctly are not going to help because struggling with them. Does that mean somebody who doesn't do yoga practice as we know cannot meditate? No. All I'm saying is their ability to meditate would be substantially better if they sat correctly. Without that also, they can meditate. Mahatma Gandhi and Mother Teresa could not do simple trikonasana, but they could meditate. But I'm convinced in my mind from what I have seen of the world, that if they could do trikonasana, their meditation would be so much better. Because their ability to hold the meditation would be better. In this pose, I said earlier that my legs are still weight bearing, not in the sense they are in Tadasana. In a different sense, I find the more I push the legs to each other, the lower legs to each other, and push the thigh bone towards the knee, the better my body lifts. So the legs are weight bearing even in this pose in a different way than in Tadasana or in Adho Mukha Svanasana.